Hi, welcome. Thank you for joining me for my daily sketch. I showed you the finished image before this video started, and I've got my piece of watercolor paper, my dip pen, and my Noodler's waterproof ink. I've got the reference photo right there. You can, if you want to work off of, if you're going to draw with me and you want to work off of a larger image, just look up that name of that restaurant, Cracked, and Chef Adrian, and then put food truck, because he does have, I think, a brick and mortar. So, and then just set up your iPad like I did, and you could work off of that. It's a little bit easier to see. And today, this piece of paper is about the same size as the iPad screen, so it's a real easy way to kind of stay on point with perspective if your subject size is the same as your paper size. And I'm starting off with the, I put a couple of pencil marks for the outline, the corners of the building. And I think I made it just a hair smaller than the iPad screen, but pretty close. And then I'm taking my pencil to lightly pencil in my lettering, just to get everything centered, because it just takes me a couple times to get that correct. Nothing drives me more crazy than I start putting the letters in and I run out of space, and then it's ruined. So today I took my time. I put them in correctly, and I was very happy. Now I just got to follow that when I go with the ink. So, yay. So grab the dip pen again, and I'll start with that, the lettering and the sign. And I sped this up just a little bit. It looks like it's real time because I'm going so slow. So I want to make sure I get those letters on there correctly. So if you haven't used the dip pen, it's really nice. I enjoy using it. You should try it if you haven't. I'll go over the supplies as I'm using them, and then in the description below the video, I'll have all the supplies used and a link if you would like to hit the link, and then just easily you can find them that way. So there's the structure of the sign. I am putting the outline, and then I'm going to go through and put in those bars that go across. And of course I'll avoid going through the cracked lettering, but when I do the lettering through the black, through by Chef Adrian, I'll just go straight through, because that by Chef Adrian is black, and I'll just go right over that. So when you're working from an image, it's always good to just take a few minutes, study that image, look and see what's in front of what you want to put in, what you want to omit. There's two things I left out. Well, a couple things. There's an umbrella on the left. You can barely see it. I left that out. And there's a little chair with a flower thing. That might have been cute, but I left it out. And then, oh, there's a TV to the right of the ordering window. I'm going to leave that out today too. and I didn't put as many trees into the top. So I think it just looked, I liked it because it was a little offset with the tree. I put one tree to the right. But you do you, because you may find that might look better. So love a strand of lights. Got those going. Pop those in. And then there's little 4 hanging baskets from those, from the top of the building. And one's a little bit lower. One is a little bit lower than the rest. I love this image. I love the green and the orange is going to be a really great contrast. I love all the plants, and I love that little iron decor with those little planters on the side, and of course the spoon and the fork. Really, really nice, easy reference photo because everything's pretty squared off. Well, everything is, yeah, pretty squared off, except for that TV was a little bit on an angle, but I'm leaving that out, so I'm not going to worry about it. But this was a great, quick sketch for the day. Took me about an hour. Most of my sketches take about an hour to sketch and paint, and then I speed them up a little bit for you guys. So it cuts that time in half. So you're just spending a half hour with me, not a full hour. And if you're drawing along with me, you can always pause if there's points that are going too fast. Now that little shelf there, that little counter is very narrow. Just a sliver of counter there. You're looking straight on at it. And then you've got the little supports that hold it up. Another little flower basket, and just put some little squiggly looking leaves. I went a little off on that, but that's okay. We're going to put some shadow under there. One of my favorite things is shadows in, because it makes it look a little more 3D, makes things stand out. And there's a little hint of shadow for the string lights, which is a great little accent. And I'm not going to put in, my flower baskets are a little bit larger because I want them to I don't want as many. So I left, I think, one out. Or no, 2. And that's sitting on like a little iron support. So I just put in some. I feel like if I do my lines a little faster, like those short lines, if I do them a little faster, I have a little steadier hand and they're a little bit straighter. The first couple lines were a little wobbly. And I made those a little bit larger, but that's okay. The wheel and tires. And then those planters, I just did half the wheel, or half the, I keep saying wheel. I did half the tires because there's those baskets in front, so we're just going to cover most of that up. So this is this food truck is located in South Miami, Florida, and they're known for, which, oh my God, I'm so hungry thinking about it. They do fries, and then they put pizza toppings on top of the fries. So the fries are the crust, and the pizza toppings look so good. I'm so hungry. So if you look it up, you'll see. And if you're in South Miami anytime, let me know how it is. Or if you've been. Who doesn't love fries and pizza? And they put them both together. It's genius. So there's that kind of metal, I don't know what they call that, but it's kind of like squarish. I should have looked it up. So I'm just doing some hatch marks to give that, those square looking, that metal detail. And then I'm gonna put in one tree, like I said, just to the right here, and just very loose squiggle lines to give the impression of a tree. And then there's a planter on the right. I'll do the same. And those were ferns below. I made those a little messy, those lines a little bit more messy and pointier, so it looks like a spiky type of plant, like a fern. And then you could barely see the other plant on the other side, but I put it a little bit, I put it in there, so it's a little more in the photo or the sketch. So we are getting towards the end. Put some little plants in those little square pots. And we are ready to add some color. So that's an Artist Loft palette. I've got all my colors in there that I use mostly, and I'll spritz it down every once in a while with a little spray of water just to wet it. And I'm going to go straight in with a straight bright orange and just a really fine tip brush. That's a 2-0. I love that orange and that sign. It makes it's so bright. Just take your time, fill that in. And then I've got a number 6 round watercolor brush, and I'm going to mix up some green with some phthalo green light, some yellow cadmium yellow, and just a little bit of yellow ochre. And then I decided I didn't like that. It was a little too, and it was too muddy of a green. So I remixed. You see the clip changed. So I wiped that out and I remixed, and I left the yellow ochre out. I just did the phthalo yellow light and the cadmium yellow. Now I'm dropping in some water. I like to do that a lot, 90% of the time with my plants. Just lay some water down on the paper, and if you've got your color already mixed up on the palette, you can go ahead and just drop it in on top of that water, and it'll spread out. And you want to start with your lighter colors first, so I'm going to build on top of that green. So this is my lightest shade. Get all those plants covered. I got some splatters in there. My brush was wet enough, so I was able to get a couple little splatters of green. And I forgot the little hanging baskets, but that's okay. I'll come back to them. So I mixed a little bit of sap green and a little bit of Payne's gray, just for a little bit darker green. And just drop that in. And then I added a little bit of sap green, and then I'll put that on top. And I kind of blotted those off. They were a little too wet. So you can always blot off paint before it dries if you don't like something. And I'm using straight Payne's gray for the windows, and I didn't completely square them in. I just kind of made it a little messier, just so it looks like there's some glare in the window. And I'm going in with the Payne's gray underneath those little boxes, and then that metal on the bottom of the truck. Using those same colors I used in the plants for the grass there. And there I got getting to those hanging baskets I forgot about. So as I was narrating this, I accidentally deleted this part of the clip, so I had to come inside, so it sounds a little different because my husband is now cutting the lawn. But anyway, so back to the sketch. I'm using a little bit of a less diluted Payne's gray for underneath that awning and that counter. And then this is a little bit of brown, orange, white, and just a speck of pink opera to try and get a copper color. And then I was going to do a little bit of it a little bit of shadowing in there, but then it was still too wet. So here is the Faber-Castell, but that was too thin. The other one was too thin. So I'm using an N45 the finer point of the Tombow to get in that lettering there. And it's water-based, so you don't want to put any watercolor on top, which I'm not going to be putting any more watercolor in that area, so I feel safe to go ahead and do the Tombow. And there's 2 points. There's a brush side, and then there's a real fine tip. So I'm using the fine tip side for that lettering there. It's giving me really good coverage. And it's not, the N55 is not quite a black, it's just a really dark gray, but it's dark enough so it almost looks black. And now I'm going to do the Faber-Castell. I've got the 0.5, and I'm just going to go on the bottom half of all of those white sign structure bars to just make it pop a little bit, and also it gives it like a little shadow. And then those little light bulb housings that are right above the light bulb, I just put a little bit of a little dark feature there for that. And then I took the the Tombow N60, and I'm just lightly putting in that light strand shadow. And a little shadowing underneath the fork and the spoon. And any of the metal in that window and countertop, and the metal wheel base. I'm going to do a little bit darker. No, actually a little bit. I'm going to do a little bit lighter in the awnings there. They look black, but I'm going to keep them a little bit lighter. So this is back to the N45. Doing the N45. It's a little bit darker. So as the numbers go down on the Tombows, they get, or no, as the numbers go up, they get lighter. Get that dark in that wheel well. Now I think there are Tombows that are waterproof. I think I might get some of those. So I really like using them for some details. But you have to be careful because, like I said, they're not waterproof. So if you accidentally go back in and run some water over them, they'll spread. But it's not it's watercolor effect, so it can be really pretty. A little shadow underneath that basket. And then now I'm going in with that shadow in the curve of the spoon and the fork with the N60 Tombow. And a little shadow on the side of those baskets. And that was like a little, with the, what do you call those? The shutters. There was like a little bit of a darker, so I just took that pen and made it look like the wood. A little shadowing again underneath those planters. And then I'm going to go back in with the Faber-Castell. I forgot that one bar underneath. Put the shadow in there, and I like to outline the structures, the buildings, or this truck, and the wheels, and underneath the little metal framing of the windows, and underneath those black planters. Well, mine aren't quite black, but I like to put in a little black in the bottom of the plant so it looks like there's a little depth there between the plant and the, like where the dirt would be. So just some finishing little details, outlining those planters just on the bottom and a couple on the sides. Little shadow. And I signed it with the South Miami, Florida on there. I'm going to do a few little splatters of green, light green. Just wet the brush really good, wet the paint, a nice pool of paint, and then some orange. And that's all she wrote. Look at that, turned out really cute. So here is my finished daily sketch, and I want to thank you so much for your time. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got something that you can use for when you pick up your ink, watercolor, and markers. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out and leave them in the comments, and I'll get back to you. If you like this, hit the like. If you would like to see more, hit the bell, and also subscribe, please. That'd be great. I appreciate you. Again, have a wonderful day, and thank you again for your time. Bye for now.